If you're looking to run hacking in Savage Worlds, there's a few ways you can do it, and there's obviously a skill for it. Two settings like Interface Zero and Sprawl Runners offer some very advanced, deep, using virtual reality, using a lot of techniques to do it. But if you want something simpler that falls into the category of fast, furious, and fun, well, Sprawl Runners has something for it, but I also want to talk about simple way to do hacking in Savage Worlds. And you've probably already thought about it this way, so it may not be new to you.
Savage Worlds, one of the best games today.
Hey everyone, it's Carl with Tabletop Tango. Look at the bubbles, do the stuff. We'd love your support. We'd love your input. We'd love your feedback. Add some comments down there that talk about how you do hacking in your Savage Worlds game. And we'll talk a little bit about an easy way that's in the Fast Furious vein to do hacking. And like I said, it's not advanced. You probably thought about it already, but I thought I'd offer it up anyway. So the first thing is there's really three steps that I think of in the hacking space. First is gaining access to the system. Second is retrieving the information on the system or executing the software programs that you wanted to execute on the system. And last is exit the system. And when I say exit, it means covering your tracks, leaving no trace behind. Obviously an optional step, you don't have to do it. So gaining access, this is where the hacking skill really comes into effect. So hacking is a core skill, and it says specifically, hacking is the skill used to create programs and hack into secured systems. Use this skill always requires a computer or interface of some sort. It says most tasks are simple hacking roles. The amount of time it takes determined by the GM, from a single action to hours, days, or even months, depending on the complexity. Success means the attempt works as desired, and a raise halves the time required. So we want to start off just leveraging hacking directly to gain access to the system. Now, penalties and bonuses can be applied based on how complicated the system is, based on the tools you have at hand, based on some other things. So some of the penalties that I like to apply is if it's a simple home system, simple network, zero penalty, easy to do. If it's a corporate network, I apply -2. If it's a research facility that's secured, maybe a -4. And then if it's a military hardened network, probably a -6. But there's also bonuses that you can get. So if you know something extra about the network, some secret about it, that helps you with what you need to do, like you know that they bring the firewall down once a month for integrity checking, which no one's really going to do, but let's say they do it, that might give you a +1. It's also a great time to take advantage of the networking subgame or subsystem. So networking, just to discuss it real quick, networking is described as a section that says your heroes often need to spend some time finding information, asking for favors. You can role play these encounters, or you can allow them to use a skill in a macro sense, summing up hours of effort with a single roll. And networking can use persuasion or intimidation to make the person do kind of what you want or get the information you need. This works really well with hacking. With getting access to the system, because you can use networking to represent social engineering, intimidating someone who works there to give you, their passcode, give you their, or really threatening and really big success that they'll put something on a network for you, and that could give you like a +2 or even more on that hacking roll against a more secured system. So really a cool opportunity to take advantage of multiple skills and multiple players to kind of make gaining access interesting for everybody. Now, I think the first thing you might be thinking to yourself is, why can't you just do this as a dramatic task? And you absolutely can. Why not get everybody involved into it? You can have somebody who's guarding like say you're playing more of a Shadowrun type game where you have to be right there and hack into it, kind of a hard line. You might be having somebody watch the door, and that's part of their skills. There may be guards coming, and there's somebody who's leading them away secretly or stealthing, and that might be their skill roll. So yeah, you absolutely could use a dramatic task for it. But I'm keeping it kind of fast, simple. So we're talking about, we're going to use that hacking skill with some penalties, with some bonuses. It's going to take a certain amount of time based on the GM. And if you roll a success, it takes that time. If you roll a raise, it's going to take less time. And you probably, with a raise, you may get a benefit for the next stage, which is retrieving information. So retrieving information is the way I run it, or I think about it, is I used a research skill. So if you look at research, it specifically says a character skilled in research knows how to make good use of libraries, newspaper, morgues, the internet, or even written sources of information or other written sources of information. So the internet. So I think of that as another thing to wade through the information, being able to understand what's, where things are stored, find them, understand them. If you're trying to run a remote software, like a piece of software on the system, I would still use the hacking role for that, with the necessary penalties as you think how difficult it would be. I didn't mention it, but an interesting thing is you can make accessing and retrieving to be opposed roles based on if there's an active network security person looking at the system, there's an AI that's protecting it. You really can do either if you want to with the hacking role. So again, dramatic tasks or opposed roles totally make sense for accessing and retrieving information. So you could add penalties to the retrieving role for research because maybe it's hidden or obfuscated, or it's using steganography, which is hiding written text inside of other text. Lots of things like that could add a penalty to somebody who's trying to do the research role and learning the information in the system. And like I said, there may be penalties for running a program if you're trying to actually execute something in the system. So that's the second stage, retrieving information. So we access the system, retrieved information using our research or our hacking if we're trying to run a program. And then finally, we're talking about exiting system. So exiting, I don't see a lot of, I don't think I've read hacking thing that really speak to the exiting side of it. It's usually more around whether you're discovered and what happens. Exiting, I look at is leaving the system in a state that you don't realize you've been hacked. So you're erasing logs, you're resetting passwords that you've compromised, whatever it is, you're covering your tracks. And that, again, would be a hacking role. And again, it would probably be at the same kind of penalties based on how difficult, the amount of stuff you did. So if you researched and pulled down a bunch of files, maybe it's at a -2. If you just had to quick run a program and that program may leave traces, that might also be a penalty as well. Maybe there's bonuses if you are able to get somebody to put something on the network for you, because now that device on the network can be the thing that executed and did the work, and it looks like it came from inside of the network, and so you never get traced back to you. They just find the box. There's all sorts of really cool stuff you can do in that way. So again, all these things could be done as dramatic tasks. All of them, again, can be done as opposed roles. But I really think of hacking as really three simple things. Keep it fast, furious. So we access the system, we use our hacking with some penalties. It takes the amount of time. If you get a raise, it takes less time. If you get a raise, I would give a bonus to the retrieving information or a bonus to exiting the system, something like that that takes advantage of the fact that you got a raise. Then you're using research to gather that information. And it doesn't have to be the same as the hacker, right? Once the hacker is hacked in, they can get their expert on researching, or the expert on, let's say it's a deep state occult library. You might get somebody who's got the occult skill to go through and leverage that skill, whatever it makes sense from a researching standpoint. And there might be penalty based, again, on whether there's an active somebody trying to keep that, whether it's obfuscated, whether it's hidden somehow. And then finally, we're exiting the system, and it may or may not be important that you cover your tracks. I find that it's really fun, and I've had characters who've kind of critically failed this step to, they've left a trace. They've left tracks for somebody to start trying to trace, and now go, oh, this hacker's got a signature. They work this way. Can we trace them back to where these folks are? And now the players could be on the defensive for others trying to do something against them. So it's kind of fun to have that exiting stage and seeing how you can cover your tracks so nobody knows you were there. So anyway, simple. I try to make hacking not that complicated. Again, there's settings like sprawl runners and interface 0 that add a lot of richness around it, that make it more detailed Even though Sprawl Runners has a quick, like a rapid hacking that's very similar to what I'm talking about. But the thing that makes those interesting is the more advanced kind of way of doing things. So if you really want hacking to be a big part of your game and you want to have a lot of equipment and a lot of like interface zero, you have things in your brain that help you hack, and you can load software in that makes it better or more difficult. You can do kind of virtual combat. So if you're really looking for something that rich, then those settings might be a great opportunity. If hacking is something you want to go fast, do it, get it done, because it's not the major thing. Just like, somebody driving a car, you're not going to do a huge driving scene necessarily unless it's a chase and it's important. You're probably not going to do a huge hacking scene unless it's important and then maybe a dramatic task. So kind of rambling on. Simple stuff: access, retrieve, exit. That's what I do. So hopefully this is one type of hacking that makes sense to you. And if you've got your own ideas, put them in the comments. How do you run hacking? Because I think there's probably hundreds of ways of doing it. This is just one that I do. So we'll catch you later. Again, I'm Carl with Tabletop Tango. Look at the bubbles, do the stuff, support, comment, like, subscribe, all of those good things that YouTube likes. Thanks again. Bye.
Savage World, one of the best games today.